if I'm always obsessed with what I meant to say. And when I try to make sense of it all, I get lost in the moment and let the moment slip up.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Hey Blue, we are the Baseball Umpires podcast for umpires by an umpire. We are more than just balls and strikes and outs and saves. Listen in for tips, rule interpretations, equipment and attire reviews, interviews with umpires of all levels, and some funny stories that might come up every time out on the baseball field. If you're new to the field as an umpire or a seasoned vet in the world of umpiring, then this is the podcast for you. Hey Blue, the Umpire Podcast is part of the 1420 Sports Bar group of podcasts on the Belly Up Network. The Hey Blue Umpire Podcast, an umpires podcast for umpires by an umpire on this August 26, 2023. Today's show is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today. Remember, we are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to BellyUpSports.com for all their great articles and other podcasts that are out there at BellyUp.com, and make sure you check that out today. Today, we are the special collaboration show joined by the guys from the Strike 3 podcast. Colin and Eric, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Doing well. Nice to hear from you, Brent.
No, this will be a lot of fun. First, I want to get this out of the way. Like, some guys, it drives them a little bit crazy. Do you guys mind being called Blue?
I really don't like it, but
yeah, it's not that great. Especially, it's like, we bother to, learn the names of the catchers and 100%. The coaches and stuff like that. So if I'm going to bother to learn your name, learn mine. That's
the one thing. Like you get to the higher levels, it's not a thing. Everybody kind of knows your name, as long as you're not calling you something else. I guess it's a bonus too, right? It's one of those deals. But at lower levels, and the one thing, like I did a couple like little league games, U12 or whatever, just to help a buddy out earlier this summer, and there was kids that were calling me Blue that were like 11, 12 years old, and I'm thinking, you haven't seen an umpire wear blue in your life, kid. Like, what's going on here? It's just one of those things I found a little bit strange. Now that the season's come to an end, we kind of had some off time away from hamburgers and hot dogs and games and everything else, and you have some time to reflect on and pat yourself on the back for not having a blown call all season or missing a pitch all season. How did your guys' seasons go?
Well, it sounds better now, right?
I reviewed tape. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, we survived. No, it was a long year, and it was an odd year. I don't know what a normal season is anymore. We had those years of COVID, and the COVID hangover, and this year out in California, we had rain. So it definitely skewed the whole year and set me behind. And I think I spent the whole time trying to catch up. I think I'm almost ready to be caught up now. So
that's the thing that I noticed for me a lot. Like you're on the field, and then it gets late in the year, and you're like, oh man, I don't mind not having games, and I hope this comes to an end soon. Colin, how do you feel about like the way you said you took some time off for the summer, but how do you feel about how long it drags on, or it seems to drag on?
Well, Eric sort of has a double whammy because he's not only umpires, but he also assigns. And so doing both of those things when it's busier than a one-arm paper hanger is very, very difficult for him. And I see the struggles that he goes through with, and my sympathy goes out to all assigners.
Bags under the eyes.
And because it's a thankless job. And especially this, like Eric was saying, this year with the rain in California, we had an unprecedented winter this year. And so the amount of reschedules that he had to do was just unbelievable. And, and for me, just being a regular umpire, not used to having all that rain and all the rainouts and then having to, of course, reschedule and what have you like that. It was
double headers that turn out because of it.
Oh, yeah.
Else. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was a little bit crazy. But all in all, by the end of the year, things came together, and it was a good season. And then you rolled right from that into the summer, and Eric worked all summer long. Myself, I didn't. I just worked a few games. I kind of took a step back, and so it was decent for me.
Well, and that's the thing I find. I'd rather, like, if you said you took a step back, I'd rather a guy be honest about it ahead of the seat, like when it comes through, and say, okay, I'm just, you know what, I'm just not. I'm good. I did my regular season, whatever it is. I don't want to do summer, because you get guys that dangle a carrot out there, and you kind of get dependent on them as an assigner, like I do it as well, Eric. And you're like, okay, is this the week? Is this the week? Is this the day he's going to help us out? Like you probably did, but there's times where you're like, okay, man, are you going to do anything or not? But if you tell your assigner ahead of time what your plans are, and if your plan Z, it probably actually helps guys like Eric out.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I actually told I told him what was happening, and he was gracious to me and said, okay, no problem. And but it was, yeah, you have to do that. I think as an umpire, you have to not leave your assigner sort of dangling. It's like, just like you were saying, is this the week you're going to help us out? Just like, if you're going to work. If you're not.
Yeah. Eric, your thoughts on that?
No, that's perfectly right. I mean, Colin was really upfront about, here's the schedule and here's what's going on, and here's when I can be available. And he had a couple surprises. Hey, unexpectedly, I'm in town, I'm available. Can you use some help? And it's like, yes, please.
Yeah. Not now, but right now. Yeah. How many can you do, kind of deal? Yeah. It's one of those, it's crazy. Like when you find yourself away from the field, we had I've been off for 3 weeks now, I guess, from the field. And you're like, okay, good. And you put your stuff away, and you don't know when you're going to bring it out. And then you kind of, like, in my own head, I said, you know what, that might be it for me for the, I'll put we'll get to the fall ball thing in a second. I might put my stuff away for the year and just kind of assign, and maybe do some mentoring, and go and do some evaluations for fall ball, and see who's ready for next year to maybe go up a level. But then you get the itch a little bit to get out there. And I don't know what goes through our, like, umpire. To be an umpire, you got to be a bit crazy in the head anyways when it gets down to it. But when you Eric, do you get an itch a little bit to go, I kind of miss it a little bit after a few weeks off?
I do. And it's been exactly 2 weeks since my last game, so I definitely got the itch going now. Hey, you got to give me a timeout. The pest control guy just showed up. Sorry.
There we go. That's not a problem. Colin, are you planning on doing a little bit? Because I saw in your bio you do some other sports as well. Like, are you going to be able to do a little bit of baseball and mix things in a little bit? Because you do basketball as well.
I did do basketball for a time, and then I haven't done basketball probably for about 7 years. I mean, when I got into college baseball, I stopped doing basketball. And so, excuse me. I'm really actually gonna, being that I've took a majority of the summer off, I'm really gonna hit it hard come the fall, and because there's really some things I really want to fine tune, really want to work on, and fall ball will definitely help me be able to do that, to prep myself for the upcoming season.
Well, that's the thing I find with fall ball. Like, sometimes it's not the most, like, around here anyways, like it's not the most competitive thing. Like, yeah, it's more team evaluations and things. It's like the games don't matter a whole bunch when it comes down to it. They keep score, but I don't know what the standings don't really matter or anything. And like with fall ball, like you do, like I said, you do some reflection over the like in your gap between your regular season or your playoffs happening, and then to now, and you start thinking of, okay, I need to do this better. I need to do that better. Eric, what's maybe a thing that goes through your head that maybe I can use fall ball to make myself better? Like, no matter what, we can always get better. Like, no matter how old you get, there's always something you could start doing a little bit better. Is there something that you have? Some people don't believe that. They don't believe that, no matter, like, it's crazy. But is there something, Eric, that you can think of that goes between your ears saying, I got to get better at a certain thing, or just improve on a certain thing?
I use fall ball for a couple things. One, to try to stay sharp, work on mechanics. And in fact, we're kind of talking about the little itch in between. I went to the gym the other day to find the times when they weren't doing the Pilates, Zumba, spin cycle class, the big studio with the mirrors, and just worked on plate mechanics.
Something
Put down a
simple, like
towel, that's
it's
home
crazy
plate.
how much that still works. Like I remember, like I went
Right.
to Evans School back in 1997, I think it was, and there's still a mirror downstairs here in the basement with a piece of tape on here and a piece of tape there, and you just keep doing that. The heel, toe, head height, just little things like that, where you just even 10 minutes a day, you go okay, and it actually works. And how like it just the simple little things that still you have to get back to basics no matter what, Colin.
Oh yeah,
Right.
for sure, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's one piece. But then, so I use fall ball to work on things like mechanics, work on footwork, work on angles. Always, from 3-man, working on reads. Read your partners. You work with different people sometimes, and it's like, when do they like to go out? When do they not like to go out? What's their, if they're the rabbit, what's their direction coming across from third base coming across? What angles do they like to take? Just so I can get a feel for them when it's real bullets. We're better. I'm better prepared. But I always try to work on little things.
Like the one thing that we use for fall ball a little bit here is to see if guys that you think that maybe that you watch them throughout the off season, maybe like they were in high school baseball or American Legion baseball, where it might be, and you might use fall ball a little bit to see, okay, I think this guy's pretty good, and I think this guy can maybe go up to the next level. Colin, do you sometimes get a guy and say, okay, are you? I think you're ready, but a lot of times umpires at when they're not at a certain level, the biggest battle they have is between their own ears, and they kind of get a little bit intimidated to go to the next level. Do you guys ever say, can maybe give this a shot? We'll put you on the basis, see how things go, and then maybe, okay, and then we'll work you in later on, because once you start getting a little bit more comfortable, we'll put you behind the plate and see how things go, because like it's obviously a different beast. But using fall ball as a tool for assigners and for advancing guys, I think it's the best time to do it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not shy about saying, take the plate. Because
100%.
that's how I got started. I was on a Division One fall ball game before I worked any scholastic baseball. I hadn't even worked a high school game yet. And a guy that I was working with, that became a pretty good assigner, a friend of mine, sent me out to this game. He said, come on and join the guys out here. And it's like, what? So watching Little League baseball, and little pitch coming in 45 miles an hour, the big old loop in it, right? Next you know, now here comes in 91 with movement. Pop!
Yeah, good enough. One of those deals.
Strike?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how that works, where like it's such a big difference. And I actually I find guys that like when you have lesser experienced guys and you throw them on the plate, they're almost Colin, I think you might agree that they're almost a little more thankful, because it's like the positioning things on the end, like if you're doing 3-man or 4-man, it's a little bit easier to just like if you're locked in and just can call pitches, you're not getting between their own ears a little bit more and trying to do too much. Whereas if like when you're a young guy just starting to, and all you got to do is call pitches, and we'll worry about everything else out there. I think that's a good way to break guys in.
Oh, for sure. It's a lot. It's a lot less stress for them, and you build your reputation on the plate. That's where you build 100%. Your reputation. And so you got to get that first. And like, I remember my first year in junior college ball, a majority of the games that I did were on the plate. I think I had one base job the whole season, and the rest was on the plate. And because that's where the coach is, that's where they see you, that's where you build your reputation, that's where your integrity comes in, and they're going to be able to push your buttons a little bit to see how you react to things and whatnot. And it gives them a little bit of, okay, all I have to do is call balls and strikes here, and I don't have to worry about moving around on the bases and whatnot like that. So it gives them just a center focus on what to do.
Like I shouldn't say it's like being on the base is easy, but it's hard to really, really kick a call when you're on the bases. Like most of the time it's out and safe, and like, not, I shouldn't say all the time, but most of the time it's pretty cookie cutter. But when you're involved in a game as a younger guy, and every pitch means something, because they do, and that's something that a lot of guys don't understand, is how much every pitch actually matters. Yeah, you're going to miss this one here and there, but when every pitch matters and you're getting guys involved, I think that's the best way to grow umpires personally. Because I know a lot of guys, they complain about, I got 10 plates this weekend or whatever it is. Oh, well, Like it's better. It's better for you if you want to do this. It's better for you to be involved in every pitch, and you're not eating sunflower seeds and looking around.
Right. And sometimes it's hard to get jacked up for fall ball because you're right. It's a little bit meaningless as far as, because it's a lot of it's inter squad games. Fortunately, here in Northern California, we have access to some pretty good quality ball. And Eric has a saying that I love and that I say all the time now is the game, no matter what's happening, the game's always important to somebody.
To some 100%.
And so even in these inter squad college games, you got guys that are bucking for a spot. And so you don't want to do anything that's going to, you don't want to be lazy behind the plate. Yeah. You don't want to call a ball a strike, and when it's not, and you take the bat out of his hand and stuff like that. It gives not only you an opportunity to work on your skills, but it keeps you in the game. That line of thinking keeps your focus and head in the game.
Well, and I think you can agree with me on this one. Like when a coach, because like I use this all the time with our guys up here. I said, we're the only guys getting paid. Right. We're the only guys getting paid. So we need to be at a level, as we need to compete, I guess the way of putting it, as the players are. We need to be at a higher level because we're actually getting paid for this deal. And they're not. Like sometimes call it like small ball. I wouldn't say very much, but it's in Canadian money. So it's one of those deals, right? So it's not a whole bunch, but yeah, so you have to go out there and you have to put in the best effort and work hard. And it's like, because every game, like you said, Colin, it's that game matters to somebody, whether it be a parent who put the money up for a travel ball game, or a kid who's trying to crack a squad on or the JV or whatever. Every at bat, because it might be their last one. And that's the thing. Like it might be the last time they ever get a chance to play. We went through that like Legion baseball this year. It's one of the things we were getting ready for games and stuff. And I said, okay, like there's a parent in the stands right now who's going to watch their kid play for the last time, 18, 19 years old, or whatever it might be. So don't be the reason why they were out or that won or lost the game. You got thoughts on that?
Oh, without a doubt. I'm sorry, Eric, go ahead.
No, I think we were both eager to agree. We're both shaking our heads. Yes, 100%. We don't want it to be the reason that we never want to be the reason that something happens in a game, right? Good, bad, or otherwise. You miss a pitch, could have been strike three, that little nut cutter on the corner. Next pitch is grooved right down the middle, and the guy knocks it over the fence for a 3-run homer.
That never happens, does it? Jesus.
No, yeah, I've only heard of that.
The baseball gods, they come and bite you, and the catcher kind of just turns his head and they shake it like, and you go, what? I don't know what you're talking about. No, it's funny how that always kind of turns out.
That's on you.
That's on. I love that one. That's on you.
Yeah.
What I've always said when I'm done, which is who knows when that's going to come around along lines. When you know it's your last game, it's your last game. And you're going to hang them up for good and become just a full-time assigner or whatever it is. I'm actually going to run out to a shortstop, and if he misses something, I'm going to say that's on you. That's actually on you. That one's not on me. That's on you. That went between your legs, not mine. It's just funny how that all turns out. The off season happens, and you get down, like you say, you go to the local Pilates yoga studio, and you do some things. What's some other things that you would recommend for? I get a lot of younger amateur umpires listening to this show, and older amateur umpires listening to the show. What's some things that you guys can strongly recommend for guys to get better, and if they want to get better, and that's the thing. First, you got to want to get better. What's some things you guys can recommend for guys to make sure they can go out there and do that?
Well, you said the first thing, you want to get better. That want to has to be there, or at least understand the need for you to get better if you're trying to move up. So get out and take advantage of the opportunities of fall baseball. That's one big thing. I say work on mechanics. It's working with. Sometimes it's the only chance I get to work with some of my friends, just because we're working different conferences or the way that the groups are. We just never got a game together this year, or maybe it was scheduled but rained out. So that's part of it. But also you build the camaraderie and the network of people, work on things to try to get better and work with people that can help you, especially at fall ball. And it's a lower pressure situation. The other big thing is go to a camp or a clinic if you can't, in addition to going to fall ball, working with people that can help you with your game, be honest with you, is go to a camp or a clinic and learn some things and be open-minded about it.
Yeah, I can't emphasize camps enough. Yeah, for sure. I can't emphasize camps enough because a lot of people go for different reasons, and you need to make sure you understand the reason you are going to camp. And I think one of the biggest things that people don't do is, especially for camp, is make sure that you're in shape before you go to camp so you can avoid injury, and get in shape before the season starts. And
that's so big, especially when you get a little bit longer in the tooth. I guess it's so big that people don't understand that it's like I do some 2-man and so a lot of 3-man and stuff. But man, like I'm almost like I'm 49 years old, and I can say, oh yeah, that hurt. Like that, yeah. The next day you're a little sore and everything else, and people understand like the actual the physical toll it can take on you on a weekend and everything else, and to get your legs in shape, because if your legs are bad and your feet are bad, and then all of a sudden your back is bad, right? And it's 100%. You got to be in shape at the entire time, like not running around like Macho Man Savage or anything, but just in decent shape where you can take care of it. That is so big, Colin. 100%.
Oh, it is. I mean, a couple of years ago, I was doing a regular season JC game, and I was following a foul ball to the fence, and he was getting ready to catch it, and I felt a pull in my calf like I had been hit by a stray baseball.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck was that? And next thing you know, it's like I'm coming up lame. And that did me in for the remainder of the season. And it's just those small things that make a big difference during your season. And you don't want to, because a lot of guys, they, depend on the money for during the regular season, and you want to make sure that you're in the best shape you can be so you can avoid those things. And like I was saying about camp before, you want to make sure you understand why you're going to camp. For what reason are you going to camp? Are you going because you want to move up? Are you going to improve your skills? Know what you're going to camp for, and go to the right camp that facilitates those needs.
No, that's huge. Like, and like there's times, like I know around here, we got some guys who, and I'm not talking bad of any officials, not because they do a job and they do a good job, but there's times where you're thinking, maybe you could come and learn something, or watch or do this and learn something. And they say, no, I've been doing this a long time. And like, do you guys have any guys like that? You go, well, no, but just because you've been doing it a long time doesn't mean you've been doing it right for a long time. Right.
Oh, so absolutely.
Is there guys that you have, and you kind of,
I've never heard of that, Brent. I've never heard of that.
Isn't it unbelievable? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I talked to some of the, and they're older gentlemen, I guess, so like my age or above, I guess. And you don't say, like, why would you want to go out there and not be better? I don't want to say suck, but not be better. Like, why would you want to go out there and have people yell and scream at you? And it's not as bad as it used to be. Like, I can remember when it's just every pitch you get just eaten alive. Well, and we could get into that a little bit too, but like when guys don't want to improve, I've never understood that. And that's with any facet of it, whatever career path or job that you have. Why you wouldn't want to get better is a mystery to me. I don't get it.
Well, I think that you have these guys that there's obviously guys that are in it just for the paycheck.
Sure.
And they're guys in there because they love the game. And you can obviously, when they're on the field, you can tell the difference between the two.
Do you give yourself, like, if there's a guy who's at a level, like say it doesn't matter his age, if he's at a level and this is what I'm going to do, and this is as good as I'm going to get. Eric, we'll go with you because you're an assigner. Do you give younger guys or it doesn't matter their age, but if there's guys who who are trying to get better and trying to improve themselves, and you can see like maybe they even something as simple as they went and got a new uniform, or the uniforms, or something, just simple stuff. When you see guys that are attempt to become better umpires, do you find yourself kind of leaning towards giving them some games that'll help you out, rather than the guy who's just, this is what I am and I'm not going to get any better?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Because unfortunately, some of those guys, I'm already good. and they're really in it really for the paycheck rather than love of the game, or that also their attitude on the field is different. So you have to be careful where I send them.
That is frustrating because it's such a fine line when you are assigning, okay, well, this guy had a problem with this team. This guy doesn't like that guy, and that guy doesn't work well with this guy. There's a lot more than just hitting the arbiter button going bing, bing, bing. Like there's a lot more to it than people actually understand.
If I could just hit the auto assign button and I'll be good.
Yeah, it does not work that way. No, because I don't like working with this person. That person, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Because people just don't like. There are people who don't get along. I totally understand that. Yeah, the camps are so important, and like you were saying, Colin, that you have a lot of guys who are kind of going for the wrong reason. Like they're like I shouldn't say that networking is a bad reason to go to an umpire camp, because you want to meet other people and and maybe travel a little bit and figure things out to do. But like, some of the other things that you see there's a lot of guys who go to camps, and I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a number of guys who go to camps because they kind of just want to show off a little bit. Do you find that?
I don't know if it's necessarily showing off as it is, the networking and getting, but like I said before, you got to know why you're going to camp and be able to open yourself up for constructive critique and ask the people that are going to be honest with you. You can't just show up just to show up and not get anything out of it. It's kind of a waste of time and money, not only for the instructor, but for you too.
Yeah, well, Colin, but we've seen guys. Brent, Colin and I have been to a lot of camps together.
Yes,
as well as separately, but together. And we've seen the guys. They go, I'm here at this camp because I want to get a job at X level.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And so I'm gonna showcase. I'm gonna do everything they ask, and I'm just gonna showcase myself. Okay, that's your reason for going, but hopefully most of them have been astute enough to understand networking with other umpires and their peers, and networking up to the people that can help you. But there are those people that go just because I've heard I go to this camp in order to get a job in this conference. It's like, okay.
Yeah, there's a few guys I've heard. Well, if I go to this one, then I'll get a job. No, that's not how that works. It's not how that. You still got to be good, and you still got to put the work in. And if people run these camps, because people who run camps aren't idiots. Like they know what they're doing. They don't just throw an umpire camp together and just hope people pay and they can make a few bucks. I mean, there are people out there who do that, but like in general, like guys who are running these camps, and if they're legitimate camps, that they'll see right through that kind of stuff and go, that guy's only here for him, not even for himself, but maybe for his wallet and his ego a little bit. And that's one of the bad side you have with some guys in the world of umpiring. The best guys, like you guys might agree with me, it's like when you get a kid or a guy, a young adult, whatever it might be, who has the basics down, but not a whole bunch. Are those the best ones to teach, Eric, where you go, man, I can not mold this guy, but I can mold this guy into a really good umpire? Are those the ones that you're like, I don't got to break any bad habits down. Here it is. Here we go.
I don't know if I've come across anybody who's not break any bad habits, but there are those that you can tell they want to get better, and they want to move up, and they want to be a good umpire. And those, you love to help those guys. I don't think so much as molding. I want to help them get to achieve whatever goal they have. If their goal, now it's going to be kind of hard if their goal is I want to be a professional major league umpire, and they're 42 and just starting out.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
But,
that's the one thing you try to tell people, like, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, it's funny.
No, and you can really tell the difference between somebody who really wants to get better and somebody who's just in it for the paycheck. Like when Eric, I, and Travis were first starting out, we did for years, we did a plethora of fall games and not one of us even thought about, are we going to get paid for this? Because fortunately, like I said, in Northern California here, we have a lot of Division I schools, and just being able to stand on a Division I field and call balls and strikes is a privilege. 100%. And so for us to go out, we would go out every single weekend and do 3-man. We do at one college or another, and then we go out and we
sometimes
have
multiple colleges in a day.
yes, we would.
Morning over
Absolutely.
here. In the afternoon, we drive over to this other place.
For sure. And then we get together at a pub or something like that and have something to eat, have a beer, talk about what happened, say, hey, what did you see? And the greatest thing is all of us are extremely honest with each other. So it's like, hey, I saw you do this. You could get better at that. And that's where you check your ego at the door, because it's like, we're just there to get better. And so you take in everything that everybody has to say. And the great thing about working with three guys all the time is that, I mean, Eric and I and Travis basically grew up in college baseball together, and we have an extremely hard bonded friendship. And I feel privileged to know them both. And it's just been an absolute pleasure to get around them and talk baseball, and knowing that you're going to get an honest answer every time, that they're not going to sugarcoat it for you.
That is such a great thing to have. I got a couple of guys I work a lot of games with here in Lethbridge and into like summer wood bat leagues and stuff like that, and college and everything else. And when like you have an evaluator come and see, or whoever it might be, you'll listen to a few things that they have to say, but like when a game is over, your heart rate's going a little bit, or your adrenaline's flowing, and you might hear a thing or two right after a game. But like you said, when you can go and sit down and have a beer, because after a couple of beers, the more truthful words might come out a little bit about what they might have saw in that day. And that's more of a thing, I think, when your peers actually will tell you, yeah, you were good, you were bad, that was a horseshit call, or whatever it might be. I think, Eric, that's one of the best things, is when you can sit with guys and they're truthful with you, and they're not afraid to say something. Because I know, like, some guys you work with, and you say something to them, they're like, no, you're wrong. Well, I'm not lying to you. Like, what does it benefit me to tell you that you missed that, or you were good, or what this, that, and the other?
Absolutely. And the response to that one is like, well, from my angle, I didn't have your angle, so okay, let's let him go. I don't fight that. It's like, okay, make a note in the book as an assigner. Make a note in the book.
Does not take well to criticism.
Yeah, or the assigner, or someone evaluating, helping assigners for groups maybe appear on the field or even above where I'm working. Hey, keep an eye out for this guy, good, bad, or otherwise. Or, Eric, have you heard of this? Here's my experience with them.
It is crazy, because like it's like retaining umpires, it's tough. I mean, like at lower levels, obviously. And I listened to a few of your guys' show. Christy Moore on there she was the softball umpire who got beat up. And absolutely, right. I listened to that one. A few, there was the Steve Dowdy one, and a lot of some other ones we'll talk about. Or Adam Dowdy. Sorry, I went because he was one of my instructors in '97 at Evans School. So I got a kick out of that one. But I try not to beat this one up, because we talk about every umpire podcast, or every time you have a conversation with umpires, they talk about the negatives of it. And there is some things that are bad. Obviously it happens, and it's not, I don't think it's as rampant as it gets portrayed in the media. Like, but one is obviously too many. Like, one assault and one abuse of officially is way too many, obvious. But one of the things that I find about having to retain umpires, it's not so much of the abuse of umpires. It's sometimes guys get thrown into situations maybe that they aren't ready for, and they go, oh, that sucked. That wasn't fun. I know I wasn't very good, and I find out sometimes we lose guys because we try to advance them because we don't have enough guys. Do you guys ever find that?
Unfortunately, yes. We have some coaches in schools where the coaches are at, where it's just too intense for some guys, and some guys aren't quite ready for it. And sometimes we're out of options. We got to send them. I'll try to send someone who's more experienced to try to shepherd them through the game. But sending two inexperienced guys to one particular site, or two or three particular sites, I definitely try not to do that, because they'll be eaten alive, and then they may not come back.
And they don't want to come back, so it's not fun. Because at the end of the day, you want to go there and have fun. And nobody in general wants to do a bad job in anything that they do in life, I would hope. Like it's just like when you sometimes they go out there and call. Like, is there any what's something that you do just for yourself when you're out there? Because sometimes the game can go a little bit quick, and you're like if you're experienced, you can slow things down in certain ways. What's one way? Because that's the one thing that I hear complaints about. It's so much faster. It's so much faster. This that cause you see distance and timing and like all the typical catchphrases, right? Like is what's something that you do to slow the game down, like because even when like the most experienced guys sometimes this game means a little bit more, and then so think you're going a little bit faster yourself. What's something that you do to slow things down? You go, okay, we're good here.
One of the things I do is, and because I've had that happen to me before, I don't think there's an umpire that hasn't happened to. One of the things I do is, especially if you're the plate umpire, you have a lot more control than you think, and it's your pace. It's not their pace; it's your pace. So, one thing is breathe, because a lot of people get caught up in it and they just moving around, and God, for the love, just take a deep breath and put your hand out. Just like tell the pitcher you're not ready yet, and then when you're ready, put the ball back in play. And then that's how I help myself when I'm at the plate, because I have total control. When I'm on the bases, I breathe and I think, okay, let's slow everything down. Everything's not that urgent. Let the game come to you. And of course you do and just remember to do pre-pitch planning and just breathe and take that deep breath. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Eric?
You hit the breathe. Yeah, that part, I think we've both drilled it, all of us, about take a breath, remember to breathe, get the oxygen flowing. About the pre-pitch planning when you're on the bases, what could happen next? So there are fewer surprises, right? The worst thing you want as an official umpire is a surprise on the field. Which, I guess you work enough low-level games, there are no surprises because you don't know where the ball is going to go. You know what the play is supposed to be.
It never is, though.
Nope.
I can't recommend that enough for guys who think that they're ready for the next level, is to keep doing lower level games, because you're going to see everything. You're going to see every little thing that you could possibly imagine. Anybody can umpire a game where there's 53 ground balls in a game, and then the 54th batter hits a home run. Right? Anybody can do that.
Right.
It's all the other stuff that can come into effect. And there's stuff that you go like your pre-pitch planning before, like when you're on the bases, because if the ball's hit here, I got to go here, and then locking yourself in on the pitcher, saying, okay, did he pause? Is it feet? Like if you have whatever you say in your own head every pitch, I'm ready to do this. And guys just they surprises, and that's when the chirping happens. Do you guys do you guys use pitch clock a lot? Obviously. Or the 20 pitch clock. Do you 20 second? Do you guys use that?
Yeah, the 20-second clock for college, we do that.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to pace yourself. I have one thing for me for timing that I used to do and haven't had to do lately. Knock on wood. Don't have to do it again. If I was getting too quick behind the plate, is grab my pants legs.
I've heard of that one, actually. Yeah.
So you see the pitch, right? Pop the glove, let go, make your call, and then that kind of get the timing in my head, and then I don't have to grab them anymore. But that was one thing when I used to get really fast, would just grab them, hang on, wait till the pitch was caught, the glove stops moving, then let go, make the call, and that kind of helped me get a better idea of the rhythm flowing. But sometimes you can step back a little bit. I do a little thing is I'll raise the toe 1 foot, kind of stretch the calf out a little bit, and sometimes I'll stretch the other one, usually left one, but sometimes I'll do the right one. Just kind of rethink, okay, focus in, step in, and go. Now, with the 20-second clock, you have to be ready to go with that and be faster with it. So, and that's just a matter of come out to fall ball and use a pitch clock so you get used to it so you don't feel rushed. Right. So when we first started doing it.
Do you like it, calling the pitch clock?
Oh, I love it. I mean, it has drastically improved the timing of the games.
100%.
Now, if they just get a 10-run rule,
That's one
because
like we had some like the college summer league we have up here. They don't use it, but all the players are used to it because they come up from wherever whatever junior college or Division II college down in the States, and they play all over, and so they're used to it. The pitchers are going, and you're like, oh yeah, they're ready to go again. So it was kind of a shocker, like okay, they're ready, and I love it. Like I thought it was great, but then by mid-July, they're like back to like, oh well, out of the box. And you're like, oh Jesus, can we just get back to playing baseball here? Like, I think it's fantastic. Yeah, like there was a couple times where. There was a couple times where I was, oh yeah, because I wasn't even done my strike call, and the ball was back and they're ready to go. Like, oh yeah, we're going here. Like, don't wait on me. No, it's I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Oh, me too. I wanted to circle back real quick, just about what you're talking about, handling situations and umpires, maybe umpiring out of their shoes a little bit as far as and retention. I think that camps and clinics could do a better part on doing that, handling situations, and some of them do. I mean, that's one part of their element of their camp is having handling situations where the coach comes out. I think if we did that better in our camps and clinics and in preparing umpires a little bit more, I don't think that they would be so gun shy as to, or signers wouldn't be so gun shy to, send them places where, the coach is a hothead, but that this in particular umpire, although may not have a lot of experience, did attend the clinic where we put him in a situation and in a heated situation, so where he knows how to handle it. And I think assigners would be a little bit less apprehensive to send them somewhere where it's hot, although they might not have a lot of experience. They have that experience of the handling the situation and dealing with coaches and whatnot.
Yeah, like it's easy for guys with experience to just ignore, acknowledge, warn, eject, right? It's easy for us just to say that, but there's different ways you can acknowledge. You don't have to bark back. You can just a nod over something, right? And that's one thing we talked about this with our association here. When we started doing our clinics, was maybe bringing in the college coach to just pop off when they're watching pitches, like just say something like, "Where was that?" Or just whatever, because they're quite helpful, because they want better umpires in our area too. So they're more than happy to help out. Yeah. And that's one thing is to maybe get a college coach to start popping off to a 20-year-old kid who's just not knowing what to do. He knows the call is right, but coaches, and you hear that a lot from coaches, they just say stuff to hear themselves talk sometimes, and just to do it. And a lot of umpires don't know that, so then they get a quick trigger and they're throwing guys out, and then they have a Donnybrook like no matter what. And that's something that I try to stay away from personally. And we like, one thing we talk about is let's keep guys in the game. Right, because there's going to be emotion no matter what. Like, don't give them free reign, but you need to try to find a way to keep guys in games, because once you start throwing guys out left and right, you don't know what you got going on. Eric, what do you guys teach there with your association with ejections and the like? Because some guys are like Yosemite Sam, right, getting guys.
We do have our quick trigger guys, and that's just how they are. We try to go with, though, ignore a little chirp, not being personal, just a little chirp, ignore. You get another one, acknowledge. That just might be just a look. I got a bad habit in college of actually talking back to some of the coaches because we're just having fun.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're not going to do this in the spring, but right now we're going to have a little fun. But you tell me, I don't know. Like,
obviously, something like that.
Yeah. Are you going to call that? It's over my head. So it can't be straight. It's over my head. That's way too high. So I'm 5'6", so I get that a lot. You got to call it straight. No, it's over my head. Sorry. So you get, at least acknowledge, just kind of look over, not, I heard you. Okay. Maybe the next look will be the mask comes off. Then I got to go warning, right? I try to give them I tend to give a little more rope than a lot of guys. So that'll be mass up. Okay, now you got my attention. Next time, now it's a warning. Next one, you're gone.
And usually when it gets usually when you get to the warning stage, the next step isn't too far away. Like in my experience, like if it gets to that, like it's like, okay, I'm warning you, and he's like, warning for what? And then it's see you later. Like
so it's like high school has we have here what they call restrict the coach to the bench. Kind of less. Yeah. I have not had. Well, I have heard of it because I have numbers have done that. But for me personally, once I restrict them, they're gone. Yeah. Very good is gone. It's like, why even put that step in? Because they'll be gone within a half inning.
Well, that's a little too much rope.
If it gets to that point where you stand there, like, well, what's the point? Really? Right. Like, if you're going to pop off from here, you're going to pop off from there. It doesn't much matter what's
so when college went to. Yeah, right. So when college went into about 6 years ago, they wanted to do the specific wording of this is your official warning. Well, I gave you a warning. Well, it wasn't an official warning, so I didn't know I was warned. Well, we had to go, okay, here's your official warning. You take out your card. And then I was like, oh, come on, Eric, come on, let's get the game going. We're in daylight. You asked for an official warning. I've given you an official warning. And I got to write it down. You make me do this paperwork. And it's like, all right, here we go. And sometimes I admit this. Sometimes I'll be a jerk about it because they're being a jerk. I'm gonna take my time. The paperwork.
Well, that's just it. You don't want to be. You don't want to be a cop out there, like, or a detective, I guess. But like, eventually, like, okay, well, this is how it's going to go. If you push me to be this guy, I guess I have to be, or else we're going to have complete mayhem. Colin, did you have any ejections this year?
No, as a matter of fact, I didn't. Not this season.
I like hearing that.
I did.
That's because you took time off this summer.
Yeah, you didn't do all the bad baseball
during the summer. I almost guaranteed I almost would have. But
the bad baseball's where you get them.
Yeah, right. But it's no. Fortunately, I didn't. And but my season was like I said, my season was pretty decent, just generally speaking. I mean, there's a phrase that I use with coaches, to, like you said, we try to keep them in the game. And so a coach will come out, and if I've just had it, I'll look at him and say, Coach, I don't want to eject you. You don't want me to eject you. So how about you go back to coaching? I'll go back to umpiring. Easy. And usually that phrase will just, it's okay.
If I got to watch this crap, so do you. Like one of those deals, right? Yeah. So it's it's crazy how it still gets to that point. And like with all the we'll wrap things up here pretty quick. Here, like with all the resources available, like there's YouTube videos and there's this and that and all the fair play and the treating people. Like how it's still a thing that there is still. I've never changed a call on a pitch. Yeah, you're right. I got that wrong. I'm sorry. Like why it still is a thing. Like I understand saying, where was that? Okay, fine, whatever. But to get that upset where you think I'm going to change my mind, I will never understand that. Like I will. Yeah, you're right. I'll call that a strike now. Like I'll never understand why coaches still think that that's going to be a legitimate thing. Like it's odd to me. Yeah. Do you guys do you find that coaches, I hate to bark on coaches here, but why not? They get to bark at us all the time. Do you find that their lack of knowledge of the rule book is part of the problem at certain levels?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, without a doubt.
Like they were players and all of a sudden I'm a coach now. I'm a JUCO coach or whatever. I'm a first base coach, and they were just they were a player last week. I've been a coach this week,
and I've been a coach, and I've been a coach for 15 years, and you still don't know the rule. Yeah. It's like when I had a professional coach who's been doing this a long time, independently baseball, but it's still he's getting paid. Yeah. In an argument, he came out in a playoff game. This is last year. Hands are part of the bat. I'm like, the conversation's over.
Drop the bat. Are the hands there?
I had that actually my first year in doing NAIA ball, and I wasn't the one that made the call. And the head coach came up to me. He says, "Colin, hands are part of the bat." I'm like, "Go ask him. He's the one that made the call." And So he walked up to my friend Eric and said, Eric, hands are part of the bat. He goes, when was the last time you went to the store and you bought a bat with a pair of hands?
Yeah. That's
No.
unbelievable. Like that, it's so common. It's so common.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Okay. Yeah,
It's like Ty
you
goes
said,
to the
Eric,
runner.
we're done here.
What?
Oh, Ty goes to the runner. My wife, she knows how to push my buttons. She goes, that one was a tie, and I just don't you dare start that again, because she'll watch a game and she'll go, no, that one looked like it was a tie. There's no such, and she'll smile and walk away like, oh, you got me again. You'll just reel me in there. Gentlemen, we talked to start the show off, all the good calls, all the great calls, all that you didn't miss a pitch all summer long. There had to have been one. There had to have been one that you went, and you hope the next pitch is like, oh God, please just ground out, please, or whatever it might be. Did you have one, Eric, that you can think of off the top of your head that was like, oh, did I ever tank that one? Because pretty quickly afterwards.
Yeah. Pretty quickly afterwards. Had one. It actually was late in the season. It was a playoff game, so obviously tensions were high, and
of course,
coach really wanted this outside pitch, and I just wasn't giving it. It was off. It was off the plate. Hadn't given all day, and he really wanted that one. No, and of course it's a nothing game, bottom of the eighth. He really wanted that
10-2
right?
in the fourth, yeah.
Right, 3-1 pitch. He really wanted it. It was off. I mean, there was space between the ball and the plate. Balled it, ball 4. Pitched it up there, flapping his hands around. I'm like, dude, throw it down. It's got to be on the plate.
Yeah.
Well, don't you know? 2 pitches later, number 3 hitter drives in over the left field fence. Now, I didn't miss that one, but they thought I did.
Oh, no. Of course. He still hasn't missed one. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, right. But the coach comes out as if I did.
Yeah.
So I had to check with my partners later. It's like, dude, they go, no, that was not a strike. You hadn't been out there all day.
Yeah.
So, no, you were fine. So, okay. But it was close enough that from the dugout, it looked great because the catcher didn't move.
Oh, yeah, because that's one thing we tell our young guys here. Don't say up and down. Don't say that ball's up because they can see that, right? Like don't. Like if you can say it's outside and whatever. Yeah, okay, good. I don't know. They don't know, right? So, but never say up and down. Like that's one thing we teach here a lot. Like don't say up because they'll tell you that it wasn't up, right? So if you got one call this year,
I even said it was ball out. And I even turned my head out to tell him it was out, and he just came unglued. He came out and goes, "That's on you." And I said, "Yeah, and that you're done."
Thanks, Mycia. Your participation is no longer required in this event. Yeah, it's funny. You got one call that was.
There are ones that I did miss it. It's one of those plays at first.
Yeah.
And.
Yeah, I missed a big one. Yeah, I missed a big one. And fortunately, nobody else really noticed it except for me and my partner. And it was a batter's interference. I mean, it was put in a Tiffany box with a nice bow and just handed to me. And it was as plain as the nose on your face. And unfortunately, I was in a different headspace at the time during the game, and it happened. And I saw it happen, and I turned into a spectator. I just, okay, watched it happen. And of course the guy was safe at second. And I just didn't say anything. I didn't make a call. I didn't say anything. No coach said anything about it, but my partner said something to me about it after the game. He's like, "Hey, did you not see that batter's interference?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I saw it."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I just froze on it. It was just, and that's one of those things. And then you kind of have to recognize sort of as an umpire when to pull yourself out of situations. And I had, like I said, I was a different headspace during the game, and I knew I had like 3 other games the next day. And I told my assigner, I said, I'm sorry, I don't want to embarrass you like that. This is your reputation. This is your stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out onto the field and embarrass you like that. I'm sorry. I said, I'm not in the right headspace. And he said, okay. and he graciously, took
God,
me
what
up-
a what a
took me
good
out to games.
assigner that guy is.
He
I
must be
know
something
he was
else.
fantastic. God, I love that guy.
There's a few good ones out there. Not a whole bunch apparently, but there's a few good ones. Yeah, it's no, I had one of those as well, Colin, this year where I did a game the day after the anniversary of my dad's passing, so I was a little just in my own head a little bit, and I shouldn't have went out. And the coach, he I've known him for a long time, and he goes, what's you're having a bad game. I said, oh yeah, like I apologize. Like I said, Hub, probably should have just not been out here. Like I just one of those things that you just maybe as an umpire, and I thought, but it's been a few years, and I said, I should maybe take this few days off every year. It's one of those things where you just you don't got it sometimes, right?
Right. Oh, for sure.
And it's not our full-time job. Right. It's not your full-time thing. So if you can find someone to help you out, it's one of those things, maybe I just shouldn't be out here and like we were saying earlier on, we owe it to the kids, the players, the parents, the coaches to be at our best all the time. And if you can't do it, then don't. Right. I don't think there's one person would disagree with that at all. Strike Three podcast. How did you get into the deep, dark world of podcasting? And oh man, you guys gonna get back into it right away?
Oh yeah, for sure. We actually got into it during COVID.
That's every story right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was listening actually to a comedian's podcast and that I really like. And he said, hey, if you're interested in doing a podcast, he said, let me know and I'll tell you how to do it. So I emailed him and his wife emailed me back with instructions and stuff on which platform to use, which was the best platform to use at the time. And so I did. And then before I launched it, I contacted Eric and Travis because, like I said, we grew up in college baseball together. Yeah. So it's like, it's just a natural thing. And they were just both, hell yeah, let's do it. And it's fantastic. So we're actually, we've been talking about it because Eric's been extremely busy over the summer. So we're going to start hitting it hard back again in September.
It's that same thing with me, the deep dark recess of COVID. There was August of that year where started up, cold lock, whatever, and sitting down here doing nothing, having some beers, and my wife, she goes, you got to start doing something. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever. So, and then, so just, that's one of those things. And that's a lot of people, same thing. Yeah, COVID. That's like, I'd get COVID. Every podcast started during COVID, but no, it's a lot of fun. It's so rewarding at times, and you get to talk to a lot of people like yourselves, and you get to branch out. And everybody's so receptive of any request or anything you want to do. That's one thing in the podcasting community I find, and umpiring community especially. That's one thing that I find with it. Everybody has their things going on. It's it's great. I had one more question. I can't remember what it was. Worst call yet?
What are you thinking of it?
One more.
While you're thinking about that one, yeah. So before the COVID thing happened, Colin and Travis and I, we started got into college baseball together, having to take the NCAA test, started doing Zoom calls together. Just like we started, like every other week or something like that. And we started expanding to other people. So we had this group that we go through during the year. Probably for 2 years before COVID, we had this group that we would meet. It got to be weekly after a while, kind of checking in. Well, during COVID, we would go and check in. We'd still have the group calls, and it's been as many as 60 umpires on the call during the pre-test time. But during the season, it's generally between 12 and 24 people would chime in during the year. Not my call. Well, we kind of kept doing the call, and I kept thinking, maybe we got to see if we can branch out any further. And at the same time, that's when Colin called, say, "Well, you have to think about doing a podcast." So rather than just us talking among ourselves, we thought, well, let's talk among ourselves and share it with others. So that was kind of a logical thing for us. We kind of came to the same idea.
Yeah, for this one, we just I had our other podcast that we got going on. It was just something that came about doing clinics and things, and people wanted to hear more, and just because there isn't enough of those conversations that can be had and that people can just listen to and just put in your ears for half an hour while you're going to the field or whatever it might be, that can just help things out. It doesn't hurt at all. No, it's a lot of fun. Last one. What's the best piece of advice you could give any amateur umpire, young umpire, guy who's just trying to get up to the next, whatever the next level might be, whether it's from little league to legion to college or whatever it might be? What's the best piece of advice? Eric, we'll start with you.
Best piece of advice: don't stop learning. This is a umpiring officiating, but umpiring in particular is a continual improvement project. It's like riding a bike. You got to keep moving forward, or you're just going to fall by the wayside. So you have to be willing to continually try to keep learning and try to keep getting better. Because the day I can do a complete, perfect umpiring job is the day I can hang it up. I may hang it up before then, but
there might be a wheelchair sitting there. Okay, I'm ready to go now. Yeah, no. Colin, what about you?
Actually, I feel the same. I think once you've been there, done that, that's the beginning of the end. Because there's always going to be somebody out there who knows more than you. And especially if you're not at that level yet, especially that's what humbles me about going to camps and getting instruction from Division I College World Series umpires. I mean, to me, that's the pinnacle. That's my goal to get to. I might not never get there, but having such a lofty goal keeps me on my toes all the time, to where I'm going to be in a constant state of wanting to learn more, wanting to get better, because there's always a little nugget that they're going to have that I could put in my toolbox to make me a better umpire, a different angle, a different thought process, and to make my game better, to make me look good, to make me to be able to hopefully get recognized and get to that level. And just be humble and learn.
It is crazy how sometimes you talk to a guy that's better than you or whatever, and how there's just a step, just one simple step, and okay, that changed everything. Like that changed. It is crazy how when you do talk to guys, and then when you do tell guys who are maybe not at your level, or you're mentoring or teaching, or you're running a clinic, or it might be, and you show them, and the light bulb and the more you know rainbow goes across their head too, and you're like, okay, yeah, I get that now. It's crazy how just those little things can make the world of a difference. Like with a call at first base or whatever it might be. Like it's and when you try to explain it, sometimes how it's just they're a deer in the headlights, and then until it happens, they go, oh, that's what you meant. You know, it is funny. And then like I had someone was telling me something this year, and I just nodded. Like I didn't want to plead ignorance to it, but I said, yeah, okay, I get it. But then when it happened, and I was okay, yeah, the more you know, like I said, the more you know rainbow went over my head. It's like,
oh, for sure.
Okay, now I know. And it's just, and it's the littlest things.
I'll give you a great, for instance. I mean, I think one of the hardest calls to make actually is a play at the plate. Oh, and Adam Dowdy came out and he put out a video of taking plays at the plate, which absolutely changed everything for me. It changed everything and how I take plays at the plate. And I'm so much more comfortable with it now. And it's so much easier because I can see things before they happen. And it's that slowing down process. And when I watched it, I was like, holy crap, are you kidding?
And then everybody just says, well, it's the wedge. Well, I don't, yeah, sure, whatever.
Right.
Like, yeah.
But he explains it so well. And then I implemented it. I'm like, oh my God, he's right.
Yeah.
And it's just it just takes your confidence so far ahead of where it was before. It's no longer a guessing game. I mean, it's no longer, oh, should I be here? Should I be here? Should I be here? Should I be here? It's just automatic for me now. And it changed the way I take plays at the plate, and I'm so much more comfortable with it. And it's just that small little thing.
Yeah, there's no such thing as the old first base extended anymore. One of those deals, right? It's kind of funny how it's all just changed, and you go, yeah, you got to roll it. Yeah, until you see it and then know what the explanation is. Like it's like a lot of times, like starting to talk so you get umpires in a room, start talking forever. It's one of those things. It's it's great. It's like, and then when you tell people, like, and when you're on the field, you don't get the same response at times. Like I was down in Montana in the 1st of August there, and this guy asked me a question, like another umpire, and I just kind of nodded because the game's on, man. Like I don't have like between pitches, I don't know what you're like. He was saying words, but not sentences to me. I nodded and okay, yeah, whatever. And I just agreed with whatever he was saying. And then after the like, and then he was out of position. I was like, what the hell's going on here? He goes, well, you told me to do that. And I said, there's no way I told you to do that. Like, there's no way possible. And so, like, in game that's why you can't be mentoring in game when it's after the game that means so much more. Like, it's so important. In game asking questions doesn't do you a bunch of good, in my opinion. Like, there's times where you could say, dude, go over there. Like, what are you doing? But like, when they're technical things, like in-game mentoring is pretty tough, except in fall ball,
It's
where
hard.
you might be able to
It
do
is
it.
hard.
But like, when games mean something, it's like, I can't be teaching you right now. Or you, like, the questions you're asking are a bit weird, right? It's just one of those things. It's funny, but
I've learned so much after a game, talking to the guy I just umpired with, and I really enjoy, especially I enjoy working with umpires that are better than me.
Yeah.
So that way we can sit down and I can say, well, in this situation during this inning, I had this. What was your take? And you learn so much more. It's amazing how much you learn after the game versus during the game. I mean, there's a couple little things that you can adjust in game, I think.
Yeah.
But you learn just so much just talking after the game
when it's fresh in your head.
Yeah.
Right. Because you could say, okay, like in the third inning, you were here and you should have been here. And this pitch here, whatever, like whatever. It's fresh in your head. And you might, I don't know, I've seen guys have notebooks. I've seen guys type it in their phone, or I've seen guys like actually engage in the conversation. And that's one thing about teaching is when the guy on the other side isn't engaged in the conversation, you're like, okay, well, we're done here. If he's taking his shoes off and eating his hamburger and having his beer and going home, like, well, okay, we're done here.
Right.
So it's
we call them the trunk slammers.
Yeah. Where's my check?
Throw the crap in the boot of the car, slam the trunk, they're gone.
Make sure you got my mileage. Yeah. I had a guy a couple of years back. There was a situation that wasn't good. And the first thing he said to me after the game was, where's our food? And make sure you got my mileage. I was like, that's your biggest concern.
Yeah,
that's your biggest concern right now. And I was hot, but like I just say, yeah, we're good here. One of those things. Anyways, tell us where you can find the Strike 3 podcast. What do you guys got going on in the very near future?
Well, we have, like I said, in September we're going to start up again, and we're on all platforms. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. Any and all platforms.
You just pop up everywhere. You don't even know.
Yeah, please do. And one quick thing I want to say before we go is just there's 2 camps that I know for sure of the dates. If any of your listeners are interested in going to camp, there's the UTI. It's the Steve's camp.
Umpire Training Institute.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart there. And I'm actually going to that camp, and that's going to be the October. This 3-man camp is October 12th through the 15th.
Yeah.
Or 14th rather. And then there is Umpire Focus, and their 3-man camp is going to be in Irvine, California, and that's going to be the last weekend in October. So if you haven't signed up for a camp or anything like that, and you want to go to camp, those are just a couple of the many camps that are going on all over the place. You can Google 2023 collegiate umpire camps, and you'll get a laundry list. But those are the 2 ones that are that stand out.
Yeah, and there's one more I'd add to the list. It's October 12th through 15th as well in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's a 3-man camp. It's not technically geared to college. There's a lot of 3-man baseball going on that there's some people that would probably like to get some help with that. So
there is and that's the thing is that they don't, like a lot of teams at lower levels, the budgets are set, and they don't want to pay for 3 umpires, which is whatever. It's odd. And so guys, they don't get to do it a lot. And then when they get thrown into it, they're deer in the headlights, right? And so like going to camps and learning how to do it, it's so important. Like, it's not hard, but there's just things that you take for granted, I guess, and just don't know. So and why would you know, right? If you don't do it enough, right? So going to a camp and learning how to do it is so important. And plugging camps like that and getting guys out, because you know what, you might end up working with that guy someday, or you might end up working with guys who do a lot of 3-man, and you don't want to be that guy who doesn't know how to do things, right? And so because it leaves your partner out to dry, and it's one of those things. And the way the game evolves, there's different things happening every year, not just with rule changes, but there's just things that change in the game, in the fine art of umpiring. So making sure you're at the top of your game year in, year out. Because like once once again, we don't want to be the reason why little Billy lost a baseball game, and then the parents are up in the stands yelling. Last one.
Yeah.
Do you find I didn't want to get the negative thing, but it's just such a good conversation. Do you find abuse more, less, or equal? No, I don't want to say abuse, but parents, coaches, do you find it same, worse, or better than it was 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, whatever it might be?
It's worse.
Yeah.
It's worse. Particularly since COVID, I think people forgot how to act in public. It's like, wow, really?
Yeah.
This is a high school freshman game. You're upset about this?
That's the one thing that I noticed. So you're like, what? Yeah, it's no.
Yeah, they're definitely becoming as we could see, and there's a guy that runs a Facebook page called Offside. He's a soccer official, and he really emphasizes these people that just make fools of themselves at games. Not only just at sporting events in general. I mean, regardless if it's soccer, baseball, basketball, what have you. And people's tolerances has really, gone to the wayside. Now, in my job, I'm a 911 dispatcher, so I get verbally abused all the time. Yeah. And so I have more control on the baseball field than I do at my own job. But so I'm used to hearing it. So it's sometimes it does me a little bit of injustice because there's things that I really need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like with Christy Moore and stuff like that, people are taking it to the next level, and there's no room in sports on any level for any type of violence.
There's not,
and there needs to be stiffer penalties for these instances, because if you keep giving people just a slap on the wrist, they're just going to keep doing it, and so it has to cost them at some point. It has to cost them not only in their pocketbook, but it has to cost them on their resume. Because if you punish people correctly for doing something extremely wrong, like hitting a sports official or something like that, it has to hit them where it hurts.
Well, and that's the one good, like, there's a lot of negatives to the Facebook and Twitter world that we should probably it's social media, but that's one of the good things, that when people get pointed out, because there's cameras everywhere now, right? And then if something goes sideways, that person is like, you're done from the world pretty quick. And that is one of the good things about that. It helps out officials for sure. It's a tough job, a rewarding job that I call it a job, because like you go out there and you do it to the best of your abilities. But I personally, I love every second of it. I can't get enough. I can't get enough of talking about it, learning about it, and being a part of it. It's the passion that comes out all the time when you get in the field. Like there's times where you go to the field, you're like, you're putting your shoes on, you're like, oh, and then you're good. But there's times between your ears, like, I really not today. But then once you're there, it's good. And you never have once I'm out there, it's 100% fine. But it's something that I'm sure that you guys to have a podcast and do everything else, you must be to be an assigner, you got to be quite passionate about it, or else you wouldn't be doing it.
For sure.
Yeah. No, thanks guys for joining me today on the Haven Stories. So Eric, you got anything else, Eric?
No, thank you for having us on, Brent. This is a pleasure.
No,
yeah, absolutely. And
we'll get this up and about later on this afternoon. We'll get our smiling faces up on YouTube and everywhere else and we'll get it all over the place. So you guys know the drill. But no, a lot of fun. Thank you very much for joining us today here. That's the Strike 3 podcast, joining the Hey Blue podcast. Yeah, it'll be up on Spotify and Apple. But remember, as always, one call is good, two calls are bad. Have a good day, folks. We'll talk to you next week. You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. 4 beer with sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Let's get into it.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.